It's been a while, everyone, but tonight's a special episode. So I'm doing something for the drink cucks. Hard Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
Isn't
God
Home
bless
Mountain Dew
America.
hard?
God bless America.
There you go. 100%.
This is the most American. I don't even know if Mountain Dew is made in America, but this is the most American thing I've ever had.
I think it's made in the mountains of West Virginia. That's
They took the Taco Bell exclusive soda and made it into alcohol.
like you do.
America. But we're here to talk about something that I am super excited about. I hope Kelly's excited about, but I'm super excited about. We've talked a lot on this show about the Atari 50th anniversary collection and how awesome it is, and you guys should own it already. It's really, really great. Not only does it give you tons of games, but it gives you a really cool kind of history layout timeline. You can go through, watch videos, look at scans of artwork and instruction booklets, interviews, all kinds of cool stuff that's in there. I mean, just hours and hours of stuff without even playing the games. And then you get tons of great games, and there's been updates for it that have added more games and even stuff about the first console wars and things like that. It's really a great package. Those same people are now doing that for Mortal Kombat, which is one of my favorite games. Now, Kelly, you're less familiar with the Mortal Kombat world, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah. I am
did you
familiar though
did you
with,
play in arcades at all?
yeah, I did some, but it just
Okay.
wasn't in as heavy rotation as Joust and Defender and all those types of things. So familiar.
And what's cool about this so far, so it's going to be on all the same platforms: Steam, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, all that stuff. They've announced 19 games so far for it. It's going to have all the same kind of content, the scan material, the interviews, all the video stuff. Similar type of layout they're saying to the Atari 50th, which makes sense. It's the same team working on it. So I'm really excited. What I'm really excited about too is they said there's going to be more games announced for this. The selection is pretty interesting as well. So it goes heavy on the original four Mortal Kombat games. Those were the four arcade games. So it gives you the four arcade games and many of their ports, and not all of the ports, which I wonder if more ports are things that are going to be added to it and which ones those might be. But of course, first and foremost, you get the original Mortal Kombat, which not only kicked off the franchise, but all of the controversy that surrounded it, which is really interesting now, kind of looking back on it, because the Mortal Kombat games are way more violent, the later ones, than the original game was. Also, too, the elements of Mortal Kombat all already existed in other games. It's not like it was the first fighting game. It's not like it was the first violent fighting game. It wasn't the first game to have finishing moves. It wasn't the first game to use digitized actors instead of hand drawn sprites and things like that. So all of that existed. They just put it all together in a way that made people angry. And so angry that they had Senate hearings about it. Our tax dollars, millions of our tax dollars, because of Mortal Kombat, Night Trap, and to a lesser extent, a game that a lot of people forget about, Lethal Enforcers, which is another game that at some point, I think we should do a Panda review of, because I replayed Lethal Enforcers really recently, and I still really like that game. Another digitized. So what those three games all had in common is digitized actors. So I think the idea was that kids would play these games and go murder real people because they didn't understand that, because they didn't look like cartoons. These weren't real people. These were video games. So, but it's all pretty interesting. I'm sure a lot of that's going to be covered there. It has the infamous Mortal Monday lineup. So Mortal Monday was a big deal because when Mortal Kombat initially got ported to home systems, it hit all four of the major consoles on the same day. Now that's commonplace. Everything comes out everywhere at the same time. That was the first time that had been done for a video game at that time, though. Usually it would come out on something a couple months later, it hits another platform and so on. So you got all the Nintendo platforms, and I brought my full Mortal Monday with me. as props because I love props. So you got the Nintendo platforms for Game Boy and Super Nintendo. And then, of course, the better Sega platforms for Genesis and Game Gear. These all came out on the same day. As everybody knows, the Genesis version vastly outsold the Nintendo version. The Nintendo version was heavily censored. The Genesis version was technically censored in the sense that there was a parental lock on it. That parental lock code was published everywhere that you could publish things. They made sure absolutely everybody knew that parental lock code to unlock the game. So there's a lot of debate over these games, and what I'm excited about is because I think this is one of those things where the rhetoric is the game just sold so much better because there was blood in it versus the Nintendo version. It actually plays way better, and I feel like that doesn't get brought up a lot. But I'm curious to see with these ports of all of these versions if they're going to kind of fix anything with them too. So one of the reasons it plays a lot better, and Mortal Kombat 2 doesn't have this problem. First off, there's blood in Mortal Kombat 2 on Super Nintendo because they learned their lesson selling a tenth of what the Genesis version sold. But the game actually plays significantly better. And if you play the original Super Nintendo version of the game, it's not optimized for the way that Super Nintendo works. So on a surface level, the graphics look better than the Genesis version because there's a lot more colors in the color palette on Super Nintendo. But once you start playing it, you start to notice weird little things. It's because the image is kind of stretched and cropped because it's not the right aspect ratio. There's also significant noticeable input lag when you're playing the game, which isn't great for a fast paced action game like that. So it's really interesting though, because Mortal Kombat 2, in addition to having all of those ports, includes the 32X version, which is probably one of the more debated versions of Mortal Kombat 2, which is weird to me for a number of reasons. First off, the PlayStation and Saturn versions are terrible. So I don't know why those don't get the ire of everybody. But also, I realize now as an adult that part of why the 32X one was shunned at the time is it was released only a few months after the Genesis and Super Nintendo versions. So most people had already bought one or in some cases both of those at full price, only to have an enhanced version come out a few months later with a $75 price tag, which would be like a little over $100 now for it. So basically, you just spent 50 to $100, and they were like, "Hey, how about another 75 for that game you just bought?" So I get it. But there's also some stuff that's missing too. Like the Sega CD port of the first Mortal Kombat's not on there. The Genesis version of Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, things like that. The Saturn and PlayStation versions, not that I think anybody's going to miss those. They're not there though. So I am curious to see if any of that stuff gets filled in as they announce more games. Also, a kind of notable thing is the Game Boy Advance games are on there, which is interesting because it includes the Game Boy Advance version of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, which is really, really good. But the original version of Deadly Alliance isn't on there. So I feel like that's something that'll probably get added. Also, Mortal Kombat Advance is on there, which is known to be a really bad game and has been shunned by the creators. So I'm curious, since they are involved, why they let that be included when there's some other omissions on there. What are your thoughts on this collection so far, sir?
Oh, a bunch of things. So Digital Eclipse is the developer who did the Atari 50th anniversary, did this one. We're huge Digital Eclipse fans, even bigger fans now that they're part of the Atari family. So that's pretty awesome. I didn't
I mean, that's
realize though.
basically our family,
Yeah, well, yeah, the Atari slash Bog Panda family.
Log Panda family.
Yeah, Bog Panda slash Atari family. But anyway, the so that's awesome. I didn't realize, and we've done a show on this too. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Cowabunga collection was a Digital Eclipse product. So that's they have done well, and they continue to do well. So you know this is going to be awesome. Ed Boon and John Tobias, the creators, are involved, as Mike mentioned. There's going to be decent footage of them, other developers, motion capture, design docs. Um, so lots of really cool stuff. So I just think, the approaches was such in-depth stuff on the Atari, and it looks like they're kind of going down that road again. So I mean, there's a crazy rich history with Atari. Looks like there's plenty on Mortal Kombat as well. So that sounds great. And so while I've not been like a giant Mortal Kombat fan, I am 100% a Digital Eclipse fan, and I do love kind of the history stuff and the background and doing all of that. So I've warmed to this as an idea. So I think I probably want to pursue this because it does look pretty great. And like I said, anything that Digital Eclipse has touched so far has been just fantastic, and I've really appreciated it. So I thought that would be good. The other thing that I found interesting here was they talked about online play and online play using rollback netcode, which was a band that wanted to play on Mike's birthday song collection, but just they were this close. They didn't make the cut. But rollback netcode, I've been learning a lot. We've learned about Pico 8, all kinds of things over recent shows here. I was not familiar with rollback netcode beyond the band that wanted to be on Mike's birthday EP. Are you familiar with that concept at all?
No.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's predictive. So it's the idea to because you get latency if you're playing online, and as you mentioned before, latency in this game's no bueno, not what you want. You play online can be a bigger issue. So with rollback netcode, what it does is it predicts the most likely next thing you're going to do and starts getting ready to render that next frame. And then if you happen to not do, which would likely be my play, it would be you go like, what the hell is he doing? So I guess I'm going to be
What's happening?
I expect I would be fairly not predictable. However, I think you being a strong player, they go, oh, obviously the next thing he's probably going to do is X, and they'll anticipate it. And then if they're wrong, then they just go ahead and do it. But because the theory being their predictions are pretty good, you're going to get a little quicker type of stuff. So there's at least a chance, more than a chance, that your gameplay will be better with more limited latency with rollback netcode. So that's another kind of nice addition to it as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see because I mean, obviously they could fix a lot of the issues now, particularly with the Super Nintendo version. The input lag, fix adjusting the screen resolution, things like that could fix a lot of those problems right off the bat. Similar with Game Boy version. Again, the Game Boy version, it's one of those games that I think like Shaq Fu is hated now in a way that it wasn't at the time it came out. This is not a great way to play Mortal Kombat. I don't think anybody would ever have argued that. But the fact that this was recognizably Mortal Kombat on a Game Boy at a time when, the biggest thing on Game Boy was like Tetris and things like that, not like the stuff that people are doing now, Slapdash. Um, not like the amazing games people are making now. But, the idea of anything resembling Mortal Kombat playing on Game Boy was mind blowing at the time. So, does it play great on there? No, not at all. But it was amazing at the time. I remember everybody being dazzled by the way this game looked. The fact that it looked recognizably like Mortal Kombat. It really didn't matter how slow and unresponsive it was to a lot of people. They were playing Mortal Kombat on Game Boy. So again, though, I have to think you can overclock it and speed it up a little and get a better experience out of it. But then that to me kind of draws into is it an authentic experience if they're fixing things like that? Same thing with Saturn and PlayStation. The reason those versions of Mortal Kombat 2 suck so bad is they pause during the fight to load. So you'll be in the middle of a fight and just get these couple second pauses sporadically throughout the fight that break up the gameplay and make it a terrible experience playing the game. So that's why those are pretty much ignored now. The Saturn one did get a US release. The PlayStation version was never even released in the US. And I think the Saturn one was a very limited release once the backlash for it started. Neither one is all that great. I've played it on the Saru on Saturn, which actually supposedly plays better, and it still pauses very frequently.
Hmm. Yeah, that so it'll be interesting to see. They didn't really mention much in the article or the video around are they righting some wrongs on it or not, but it would seem to make sense. So we'll have to see on that. The other thing I wanted to go back to was you talked about saying it was a kind of an inappropriate use of our government's bandwidth to kind of have these conversations. I mean, I think you're mostly right because I'd rather have them concentrating on making sure that my gas stove stays in my house and doesn't get hauled away, shipped to a detention center somewhere. I mean, that's where I really want them focused right now. But in addition, being a big joust guy, there was a period of time where I would cruise the fine streets and alleyways of Goshen, Indiana on an ostrich, looking for other people on ostriches to joust with. Didn't get too many, but I was ready. So it's not an illegitimate concern to say behavior can be influenced.
I do think we should probably do, with this coming out, we should do a panda review of one of the other games from there. I think would be Night Trap is fun, but it's one of those interactive movie games. I think that would be a little different than a standard panda review. But Lethal Enforcers, I think, would be a good one to do.
Yep, I think and platform wise, that's going to be on what?
Lethal Enforcers was in the arcades as well as Super Nintendo and Genesis.
Okay.
The Super Nintendo one is mildly censored compared to the other ones. It's not like Mortal Kombat censored, but you'll see.
Okay.
We can talk off air and I'll explain. I think one of the other two would be better just because the Super Nintendo is missing some things.
Pretty good chance Super Console X is going to take care of me on that.
I think all three are on my Super Console X.
Perfect. Good to know.
So
All righty. Cool. Well, let us know. We appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe to the Bog Panda YouTube channel. Then make your way over to Bog Panda Vision, where you can get that really great Game Boy game, Slapdash, in multiple versions with shockingly little variation in gameplay. However, the sprites make the salad, if you will, make the meal. So they are appropriately attuned for a Christmas themed one, holiday themed one, a scary season one, and of course a Game Boy Color version as well. So you can live it just like the Wizard of Oz. You can play Slapdash in black and white, and then play it in the Game Boy Color version, and it'll be like you're transported to a magical land. So there you go. So check out
do
Bog
you have a
Panda Vision.
preference on which version, Kelly?
Classic Slapdash is still kind of my favorite, I'd say. Atari 2600 version will be if I can ever get it finished. Google's AI and I are working on it. We're making some progress, but we'll see how that goes. We've also got some merchandise. We appreciate you taking a look at that. There's links to that. And leave us a comment if you're as excited about this as Mike is super excited. I'm excited. Well, give Mike the super excited on it. But it looks great. We're big Digital Eclipse fans. Are you? Let us know. And their work's fantastic. Anything else?
No, I think that covers it for now. I'm sure we'll be talking about this again in the future.
100%. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bog Panda.